Hello friends, welcome to Edwiki Learning channel. Please do subscribe to get more updates on the DevOps concepts. This video is part of the full course AWS DevOps Practitioner training. Please do check the description below to get the link for the complete full course. Without further delay, let's get into the video. Thank you.
By now you are all created AWS accounts. So quickly can confirm that who have not created AWS accounts yet, right? So the expectation is by now we should all have the AWS accounts and should be able to logging into the AWS accounts, guys. Okay. If not, please do it immediately. We are going to start using the AWS from today, and we will be doing some practices there. Okay. So aws.amazon.com is the AWS management portal. That is where we need to have an account. And here I can logging into the AWS account by clicking on sign into the console. Right. And here always use root user and specify the email that you have used to create an account and supply the password. That is where you will be logging into the AWS management console here, guys. Okay. So can I use this statement at this time? Okay. So always talk to me over the chat window. If you have any concerns or the questions, always you can support my statements too, right? So AWS is the infrastructure as a service model provided by the Amazon company, which will be allowing us to use the infrastructure resources over the cloud platform, which that the infrastructure that I'm going to prepare in my AWS will help us to configure my business. When I say business, my application that I wanted to use or run the business. Are we good with this statement? Whatever the vocabulary or the terminologies that I have used in the statement are already discussed in the previous lectures, right? So you should be able to understand that, right? So we already covered the concept called infrastructure as a service term. That means the AWS is actually managing the entire infrastructure in their own data center, and they are offering the infrastructure resources, right? Like processor, memory, compute, like basically a server, right? For us to use or to run our business. Good. So when AWS is offering the infrastructure as a service model to us, AWS is giving all of those services, right, using the services concept. So once you log into the AWS, so right, you can see the services tab there, and the left side you can see the service categories. All these are the different category of the services that the AWS is offering to you, right? So we can see the compute category, containers category, database category, so on, so on, right? So we need to see which category will be more suitable for our business requirements, and we need to go and discuss the same. AWS is not just for us. AWS is providing the services for various business sectors. In the sense, AWS is giving some uh, solutions, or AWS is giving some resources which will be suitable for which will be suitable for machine learning people, which will be suitable for robotics, which will be suitable for, I would say, management, right? And there are few game related development. We can see the developers as well. What does it mean, guys? The AWS platform is using by many people, the different job titles basically, right? The developers are using the AWS account, right? The testers are using the AWS account, management people are using the AWS account, and a few other various sectors as well, right? So we are using AWS as a DevOps engineers, right? So whichever the category of the services that are needed for us to become the engineer, to become the DevOps engineer and support, only those things we are focusing on here. Is it clear? That means you don't need to worry in understanding, learning all the category of the services that are listed here. No, right? You don't need to worry about how the robotics works, how the satellite works, how the machine learning works. No, don't worry, right? So in this category of services, we as a DevOps engineer, we need to worry about only the compute section, container section, database section, right? And like networking section, security, storage. So there are only few set of services which we need to be familiar, and we will be driving only those stuff based, not everything in AWS, because those are not relevant to our job role. Is it clear? Now, out of these different category of the services that are listed here, the very first category that I wanted to pick up is compute category. If you go to the compute category, inside the compute category, there are few more services that are listed here. You see here, app runner, batch, EC2, something, something. All these are the AWS services which are offering the compute resources, right? So what does it mean by the compute resources? So I don't see the people are active on the chat window, right? So what does it mean by the compute resources? Can I say processor and memory, right? These two are the compute resources which will be helping to execute your computer instructions, right? So all the services that are see here, all these are actually providing the compute resources like processor and memory, right? So if you go to EC2, it will give you a processor and memory. If you go to Lambda as an example, it will give you processor and memory like that. All these are giving the processor and memory only, but the way how they are giving the processor and memory for you to run your job, for to run your business application will be differ, right? So we'll look into them one by one later as needed, right? For now, we will get started with the service called EC2. EC2 is a service that we are starting today, right? EC2 is the Elastic Compute Cloud. That's the full form of the EC2, right? So EC2 will give us the virtual server in the cloud. What is virtual server? So basically think of like for now, the EC2 is the service which will give you the required server, and that server you can use to run your business. You are all already familiar what is it mean by the a server terminology, right? Server is mean that basically a system, right? So you need a system to run your business. Yes, I want to take the AWS help to get the server, and EC2 is the service which will be giving you the required server. If you want to get started with EC2, just click on EC2 service, right? Then it will take you to the EC2 dashboard, right? So currently I am in the EC2 dashboard, which will tell us, right, uh, the snapshot, or I would say the total, the different kind of the resources that I am using in the EC2 service. Okay, so EC2 is the service name. Once you go inside the EC2 service, the left side, whatever you see the different tabs, all these are called as a resources. Is it fine? Right? So EC2 is the service name. Now instances is the resource name, spot request resource name, AMI resource name, volume resource name, security group resource name. Got me, guys? So that means EC2 is the service name which is offering the required virtual servers to you. Inside the EC2 service, there are different resources are there. Each resource will give you certain details, which will be going through them one by one. I would say like once you are able to familiar about all these resource tabs, then we are done with the EC2 service. That's how it works. Good. Inside the EC2 service, The very first resource that I'm going to talk about is the instances. So let's say now I want to know what is this instances resource. Just click on that, right? Now you can see here no instances. That means what? What is instance? Instance is the AWS terminology which is referring the a server. That's it. Server, system, instance, all are giving the same meaning only. Instance is the AWS language. Server and the system are very general language. That's only the difference, right? Both are all are same, right? As of now, it is saying that hey, you don't have any servers created in this EC2 service. Good. Now I want to create one EC2 instance, correct, to run my business. So how to get started with? So as we know, the AWS global infrastructure concept of different regions and the availability zones that the AWS is maintaining their data centers across the globe. Whenever you are looking for the EC2 instance to run the business, the very first thing that you need to look at is the region selection. In the top right side, you can see the region selection. Usually by default, US East 1 region will be selected, but you can go and choose whichever the region that you wanted to have your instance to be created, can just select it there. I always wanted to go with US East 1 region only throughout our 3 months of course duration. Okay, but it's up to you which region that you wanted to go on. The concept will be the same. Whenever I choose US East 1 region, now if I go and say that hey, I need one EC2 instance, your server will be get created in the US East 1 region specific availability zones. Means that the data centers. Good. Now let me go and create one server. So here you can see a tab called launch instances. Just click on that. So now you can see one form got created here. So launch instance is in the sense like you are telling to AWS that how you are expecting a server to be created in the US East 1 region of availability zones. So you need to fill up this form, right? What is this form is all about? What is the kind of the server that you are looking for? Just inform the requirements here, and accordingly the server will be prepared in that data centers and the server will be given to you. So a quick question or brainstorming question for you guys to answer quickly in the chat window, right? If you are looking for a server, right, what kind of the configuration that you are interested on? So I mean to say, what are the minimum resources that you should be listing them out to get a server? Think of like you are going to the store to purchase a server and the shop owner will ask you, hey, tell me what kind of the server that you want to. You need to give some information, right? So what are the minimum mandatory resources that you need to list out to order a server, correct? So at bare minimum, you should be able to tell what kind of the CPU that you are like expecting and what kind of the RAM that you are expecting, what kind in the sense like how much processor you are expecting, how much RAM that you are expecting, how much storage volume, that means the hard drive. Then more importantly, what is the operating system that you are looking for in your system, correct? Because there are wide variety of different OSs are there. Which OS that you are looking for to use your system, correct? These are the 4 minimum things that you should be clear about. The remaining are very default. So all those 4 information you need to fill out in this form. That's it. Okay. So let me go and start filling this form. So the first thing is here the name. So you just need to give the name of the server. It could be any name that you wanted to. There is no rule. So I'm just giving some maybe my first server. So I think from now onwards, rather me using the terminology called server, let me use the terminology called instance, because we are specifically at AWS level, both are same. So you can give any name for your instance. Now scroll down, right? The next section is all about application and OS images in a shortcut like Amazon Machine Image AMI. What is AMI, right? AMI is the template that contains the required operating system and the required software applications in it. In very understandable format, AMI is the Amazon Machine Image, which is the process of which is the process of selecting the operating system that you wanted to use in your instance. Make sense? Like here you can see that it is mentioning the different operating systems that the AWS is supporting for you. Amazon Linux operating system, Mac OS operating system, Windows OS, something like that, right? Which OS that you are looking for, just go and select the OS, that's it. Whichever the OS that you select from this list, AWS will be doing the required setup backend, and they will be ensuring that this OS is given to you in this instance. That's it. Cool. So can I use this statement at this time? Amazon Machine Image AMI is just a choice, like it's just a operating system selection. Is it good enough to understand at least for now? Yes. AMI is just a OS which we need to select. And in the quick start section, usually there are a few operating systems that are more popular. You see Amazon Linux, Mac OS, Ubuntu. These are more popular operating systems. Okay. But if you wanted to know more, all the supported operating systems by the AWS, you can just click on browse more AMIs. Initially, AWS will be a lot of theoretical concept, guys, because this is all about a website, right? We just need to understand the different options. So that's how it is. Well, once you go to browse more AMIs, here you can see a quick start AMIs 47. That means there are almost 47 different operating systems that the AWS is offering at this time. We can see the list here. Amazon Linux, Amazon has two different Linux flavors, guys. Amazon Linux 2023, which was released early this year, and Amazon Linux 2 AMI, which was little old. And then we can see Mac OS, Red Hat Enterprise Linux, and all the different flavors here in the below. Whichever the OS that you wanted to, just go and select the one. That's it. Now, for us, right, I'm going to use Amazon Linux 2023 AMI to go with this. And here you can see an option here to select it. Just select it, right? And here you can see that the x86 and ARM, there are two different options, right? What does it mean by? Hope you all know that, right? In the processor architectural technology, as of today, the Intel company based x86 architecture processor is also there, and ARM processor is also there. These are the two different flavored of processors that are currently available in the market. So the OS that you are going to use here should be compatible to the processor that the AWS is allotting in the data center. Make sense? Because at the end of the day, whatever you're selecting here, there will be a server in their respective data centers, right? There is some processor running for you, and your business will run over there. So you are looking for x86 processor or the ARM processor, that choice can be made here. AWS will do accordingly when they are preparing a server in their data centers. Now, What's the difference between these two? We don't need to too much worry about in differentiating them, what kind of the differences between, but as at this time, understand that some businesses may need x86, some business may need ARM processors. So whichever the processor architecture that you wanted to, just select it from here. Most of the times we will be using x86 architecture only for all of our general purpose web applications. Good. And here you can see some detailed information about the AMI. If you choose this operating system, what is that you are going to get? You'll get some brief information here, guys. Now, whenever you choose the AMI, it is not only giving you the operating system, along with that, there will be certain number of softwares built in into the AMI. You will be getting those softwares also. Hope you are following, right? That means the AMI is the Amazon machine image, which is the template of the operating system plus certain few number of softwares that they wanted to give as a bundle, so that you don't need to install them again and again once you get an operating system. Make sense? For example, you take a Windows operating system, right? So usually when you install the Windows operating system, you may not get the Microsoft document, Microsoft PowerPoint, Microsoft Excel. These are the additional softwares that you will be installing them, right? But what is the case if you get an operating system as a bundle with the Microsoft Office? You got me? That's what I'm trying to explain here, right? So sometimes the AMI is not just a plain operating system. AMI will also contains certain number of softwares as a pre-built-in, so that whenever you choose the AMI, it also gives you the required or the softwares as well, whatever is added into that AMI, guys. So what and all softwares that you will be getting in when you choose the AMI, all the softwares list will be available in this description itself. They will specifically call out that, hey, if you choose this AMI, these are the softwares that we'll be getting as a predefined. Maybe here you can see, if you see this description, right, this particular operating system comes along with, you see this systemd, GCC, glibc, something something. You don't need to worry about what these softwares are at this time. Just understand that, right, whenever the AMI is selected, it is not just the OS, it is also coming with some sort of the operating system, sorry, some sort of softwares also along with that. Those are the extra predefined packages. Good. So now if I go little upper side, and do you think this particular statement is valid? If you ask me what is AMI, AMI is the template that contains the software configuration. What kind of software? It includes operating system, plus it includes any other software applications as well, based on the type that you have been chosen. Now, each AMI that you are choosing here will have the AMI ID, guys, and you can see the AMI ID here. If you are choosing x86 processor architecture, you will be getting the corresponding AMI ID. If you are choosing ARM based processor architecture, you will be getting the corresponding AMI ID, because the operating system will not work in both processors. It should be a different basically, right? I mean to say, same operating system software will not work in x86 processor as well as the ARM processor. Those are the two different manufacturing vendors. That's the reason Each AMI has its own ID for identification, and that AMI ID is something that we should be care about. It's like usually if you go to store to purchase the system, right, they will ask you, hey, do you need a processor i5, i7, right, i3? These are the different processor kinds, right? Something like this. All those are the Intel processors. ARM is the ARM-based processor, which will be manufactured by a different vendor with a complete architecture is different, right? And mostly ARM processor will be working for the gamings and some sort of the different units, not for the web applications. That's okay. Now, the quick start AMI, whatever the 47 AMIs that you see in the list, all these 47 AMIs are officially supported by the AWS, which you can go and use it. All the AMIs that you see in the list are provided by AWS. You don't need to worry in getting the license subscription for that OS. Getting me what do you mean? Oh, sorry, what I mean. For example, here, Red Hat Enterprise Linux. Do you think the Red Hat Enterprise Linux operating system is actually developed by Amazon company? No, right? So the Red Hat Enterprise Linux is actually done by or developed by the Red Hat company. And if you do little scroll down, Mac is by Apple, right? And maybe if I do little scroll down, Windows is by Microsoft. But I mean, though these operating systems are actually developed by different companies, but still AWS is owning the license and AWS is offering to you. You don't need to pay any specific license for these OS that you are going to use in this instance. And usually by default, AWS will offer only the latest version of operating systems. You know what does it mean by the version, right? As and when they are keep on releasing the new operating system versions, like sometimes I'll take Windows as an example because most of the folks are already aware about the Windows, right? So Windows has Windows 10, Windows 11, right? Windows 8, right? So even if I go little previous older version, Windows XP, these are the different versions, right? And as and when the new version is released, the new version comes with the latest features, latest UI, latest performance things, something like that. Mostly you will see only the latest versions in this quick start section. Sometimes you may need some older version. Sometimes you may need a different version that the AWS is not officially giving for different business reasons, right? So if you don't find the operating system that you are looking for in this quick start section that the AWS is providing, then we can go to AWS Marketplace AMIs, guys. And here you can see in the AWS Marketplace AMIs, almost 9,000 plus AMIs are available. What is Marketplace? AWS Marketplace is the place where the third-party companies can create a AMI by themselves and can subscribe the AMI to the AWS, and they are selling the AMIs through this marketplace forum. Make sense? And here you can see that the Fortinet company is actually created a AMI and they are selling this AMI in the marketplace section. And they are mentioning the pricing as well here. You see, if you use this AMI, that is being given by this company, we need to pay for almost $0.36 per hour. That is the charges that we need to pay for using this particular AMI. And here you can see, right, the another company is giving you one more AMI and we need to pay this amount. Like that, you can see there are different third-party companies are actually created AMIs and they are selling the AMIs with the specific price. If that is the AMI that we are looking for our business need, yes, go and select this AMI and start paying this to them, right, as part of using this AMI, guys. Got it? What is AWS Marketplace AMI? But let's say if I use this particular AMI, I don't need to pay this $0.96 per hour to this company directly. No, I always pay to AWS only. AWS will take care of how to pay this to the third-party companies behind the screen. I don't need to deal with these companies directly. Now, what advantage that I get it with this marketplace AMIs? Most of the cases, the marketplace AMIs are little customized. Sometime back I said, right, the AMI is like operating system plus some sort of softwares are bundled as a predefined, right? Mostly these marketplace AMIs will come with the operating system plus certain specific applications. I meant to say certain set of softwares are already preloaded. So if you think that why should I worry about installing and configuring the software myself? Let's say if I take this particular AMI, this is coming with the required softwares also. So I can just take it and use it. If you do so, can just take this particular AMI, something like that. At this moment, I can't go exactly with the real-time use case, how it will be, because we are very beginning state, but I'll just give one more example here to understand. Let's say OpenVPN is one of the software, guys. Okay. OpenVPN is one of the software. Like you can take the plain operating system, then you can purchase OpenVPN software and you can install the OpenVPN software. But if you use this AMI, right? If you use this AMI, you will get the operating system plus OpenVPN software is already pre-installed, pre-configured. So as a bundle, you can just start using the software. You don't need to worry about purchasing and installing the software yourself manually. That's the advantage that you get it with the marketplace AMIs. Good. If you ask me, do we use marketplace AMIs very often in the real time? I would say no, right? So we will not be using the marketplace AMIs very often in the real time, but we just need to know what is marketplace AMI, how the marketplace AMIs will help us. Now, if I go to the community AMI tab here, the community AMI are the AMIs that are for free. You don't need to pay anything, right? You see that the community AMIs are actually for public people. All these are for free. The different AMIs are there along with some information. If you feel that yes, this is the AMI that I need for my business, you can just go and get it. You don't need to pay. But the community AMIs are not secured because these are actually developed by the public and they are registered this AMI as a public, right? So there is no guarantee that these AMIs are secured and ready to use for your business. So it's not advised to use the community AMIs for your use, guys, business use, but we just need to see what it is. So 90%, yes, we will be depending on Quickstart AMI only, and we will be using the officially provided AWS provided AMIs for your whole stuff. There's something called My AMI. We'll talk about this later. As of now, we don't need to worry about this section, guys. It's a bunch of theory, but as a summary, AMI is the Amazon machine image, which will be a operating system plus certain predefined software list will be included, and you can choose which AMI that you wanted to for your server. Here, let me go with the Amazon Linux 2023 AMI. I will go with the x86 architecture processor, Intel processor, select. Whichever the AMI that you have selected, that operating system will be now installed, configured in your server. Ensure one EC2 instance that I'm creating can have only one AMI. You can't select multiple AMIs here. One server, one operating system. I'm done with this step number 1, guys. Now the step number 2, you see this instance type. Now in the instance type, it is asking us that, hey, okay, you already selected the OS, which OS that you are looking for. Good. Now tell me how much processor and the memory that you are looking for. Correct. The processor and memory selection is based on the instance type. You can see all the instance types by clicking on compare instance types. AWS is already having the predefined combination of processor and memory, which is named as instance type. You do not have a choice to manually fill how much processor, how much memory that you need. I mean to say, you can't choose that I need one processor and 16 GB memory. No, right? Because AWS has already some fixed combination of instance types. You can just only choose that instance type and automatically it will give you the corresponding processor and the memory capacity for you. Here you can see like T1.micro is the instance type, that is the name that AWS is given. For this type, you will get one processor and you will get like 0.612 GB memory. T2.micro is the instance type that you get it one processor with 1 GB memory. That's how some combination is already there, guys. Based on which combination will be more suitable for your need, you just need to go and choose the instance type. That's it. Make sense? If you do little scroll down, you can see different combinations here. You can even see like 96 processors, 192 GB memory also available, right? So based on how big server that you need to choose it here. That's about instance type. For now, let me choose T2.micro. I'll get one processor, I'll get 1 GB memory. That is good enough for me at this time. Just to repeat, in AWS, you cannot customize yourself for how much processor and the memory that you wanted to. You always has to choose the instance type, which is already predefined combination. Which combination that is more suitable for you, you just need to go and choose that instance type. That's it. We don't have any other choice at this time in AWS. For now, let me choose T2.micro, one processor, 1 GB. Click on select instance type. right? I'll get one processor and 1 GB. Scroll down.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, sir, EMI, which EMI we will take for our process? Amazon Linux EMI or Linux 2 something?
I kept you on mute. Yeah, we can put that in chat window as well, right? So it's up to you which AMI that you wanted to use. But here I have used Amazon Linux 2023 version. Yeah, whichever the AMI that you choose, the AWS will just give it for you. Now I'm done with instance type. The next thing is key pair, guys. This is a little tricky part, and we see that something called login as well, right? So I'll come back and talk about this key pair, but for now, let me create a key pair. I mean to say, I'll talk about what is the use of the key pair a bit later. For now, let me create a key pair. You see here, create a new key pair. Click on that. Key pair name. Any name would be fine. Just give the name of the key pair and the key pair type. It's up to you which type that you wanted to choose. Don't worry about the difference between these two types at this time. I do recommend choose RSA type for now, and private key file format. Do not ask me what is private key at this time. We have a different section scheduled in upcoming to understand what is RSA, what is private key, all these things, right? So at this time, just go with the RSA type and private key file format. Okay. If you guys are using Windows laptops, go with the .ppk. If you guys are using Linux or Mac laptops, then go with .pem. Is it clear? We'll talk about the differences, why these differences, all these things in later session, guys. There is lot of other dependencies that we need to cover up to go with that. That's the reason. For now, simply blindly, if you are using Windows, go with the .ppk. If you are using Mac, go with .pem. Okay. In my case, since I am using a Windows laptop, I will go with the .ppk format. I'll just click on create a key pair. Once you click on create a key pair, you observe that one file got downloaded in my local system. You see here, the file is downloaded. The file that is downloaded here, I need that file to access the server once the server is created. That is where this file is a security part to logging into your server, guys. Now you can see we can use the key pair to securely connect it to your instance. So I'm going to use this downloaded file later once the server is created. So far so good. So here I have selected dpt11 key, which is created some time back, and I already got the file that was downloaded in my local. I'm good with this key pair step. Do not do any changes to this networking sections at this time. We have a different section scheduled to understand this networking, how to do this. For now, don't do anything. Do not do any changes to this networking. Simply ignore that. The next thing is configure the storage. This is where we need to specify how much hard disk capacity that you need, right? Any system will have one hard disk, right? So by default, you will be getting 8 GB hard disk, right? If you want, you can change that. But for now, I advise, because we are initial, right? Don't do any changes to the configure storage. Let it be the default hard drive size. That is good enough. Just don't do any changes there. Now, And under the advanced details, again, don't do any changes. For now, let it be same defaults. Under the summary, how many servers that you are looking for? I need only one server. And you can see that you have chosen Amazon Linux 2023 AMI. We have chosen T2.micro instance type to get one processor, 1 GB memory. I did not do any changes to my networking, no changes to my storage section also. Now just come and click on launch instances. Now, based on the details that you have filled in the form, AWS will be creating a server in the US East 1 region of availability zones. Then the server will be ready for you. The server that is created will have a ID, which is now called as a instance ID. You see here, successfully initiated launch of instance. You got one instance ID created. That means that's it. The server is done. So just click on view all instances. Now, if you go to EC2 dashboard and click on instances resource tab there, you can see your instance name, instance ID. When it says instance is running state, that means your instance is fully ready in the respective availability zones and it is ready to use. Right? This instance is created with one processor and 1 GB, and you can see some more information here. Key name, all these things. Once you select this instance, it will give you more information as well below, saying that this instance is created using which AMI. We'll get some information, guys. You see here, this is using which AMI. Is it Linux or Windows kind of server? And when this got launched, which key pair was used? Some more information, right? Now, whenever you choose this instance, like whenever you select this instance, right, you are getting more information, right? The information that you see here, this information is called as a metadata of your instance. Are we good with this terminology? Metadata. What is metadata? Metadata is just a data about the instance. Like the instance is created, right? What is the instance ID? What is the AMI of the instance ID? What is the key pair of the instance? The instance is in running state or not? All this information is called as a metadata of an instance. Good. Now my server is ready in the US East 1 region, right? Now I want to use this server to run my business, correct? My end goal is what? If I go to browser and run www.edshopper.com, my website should come in. That website should come from this server. That is my goal, right? To configure this server to run your edshopper.com website, you need to logging into the server. To log into this server, you need to use the public IP address. In the metadata section, you will see the public IP address. Select the public IP, copy that. Now to access or to logging into the server, you need to have one other software called PuTTY. PuTTY is the software that you would need to log in and access the server so that you can configure that as per your business. As of now, I'm showing the process for the Windows machines. I'll talk about what if you are using Mac in a bit later time. For now, this is applicable for the Windows systems. I mean to say Windows laptops. If you are on a Windows, then you can just go to putty.org website. You can just go to download putty, and here you can see putty.exe, and here you can see how to download this putty software. I'm sure you are all using Intel based processors only, so you can download the first one, right? If you are using ARM based laptop, then you need to download the second one, but I'm sure no one will use ARM based laptops, so just use the first one and download this software. This putty software is the open source free software that we can download it from their official web portal. This software will help us to logging into the EC2 instance. Once the software is downloaded, you just click on the software name. You will get this kind of a window. Yeah, you will get this, right? All what you need to do here is give the public IP address of your instance. In the left side navigation, under the connection, under SSH, click on auth, the plus symbol. Here you can see credentials, and here you can see private key file for authentication. Remember, when I was created a key pair, one file got downloaded, right? And I said that that file is needed to logging into the server just for security purpose. Now that file we need to upload here. Browse, download section, dpt11.ppk, select that file and click on open. The very first time that you are trying to logging in, you will get this kind of alert. We'll talk about this alert as well in upcoming lecture, why this kind of alert will come the first time. For now, accept it. Now it is asking for login. You can maximize this window. The font is very low, right? I can right click on this putty, change settings, appearance, change. I can just basically make the bigger font for better visibility. Now it is asking for a username password. I'm trying to logging into my EC2 server, right? EC2-user is the username and you hit enter. With the key that you have uploaded, right, it automatically connected. It will not ask for any password. And now I logged into my Linux EC2 instance. Now I can start using Linux commands and all. I can make this instance right as per my business need. That's it, right? So I just logged into the server, guys. So what is this Linux? How to use this Linux? All these things we'll cover later. But as of now, the goal is how to create a EC2 instance, how to log into the EC2 instance using putty. As I see a question in the chat window that why AWS is not providing that putty software. Putty is not a AWS specific software, or like we don't need to have a specialized software that AWS is offering for login, guys. To logging into this Linux EC2 server, you can use any software that is available in the market. You see here, putty, Excel, SecureCRT, and MobileXterm, Bitwise. There are many. You can use any of the software to logging into the EC2 instance, guys. There is no rule that only putty. No, you can use many. There are many in our internet. I mean to say, offered by different organizations. Out of all these, Putty is one of the best software that the people are prefer to use because of the simplicity and other much benefits. So I'm recommending to use Putty. But yeah, just to get your awareness right, we can use any software that you like it from this list, guys. Right? That's the reason AWS need not to give you the software to be downloaded from their side. No, these are just open source softwares available for Linux login, and you can just use them just like that. Good. Now, so I got my Linux instance, right? This instance, can I use the statement at this time? The AWS is actually spending one processor and 1 GB memory and 8 GB hard disk capacity in the US East 1 data centers for me, correct? I'm using that capacity now and I logged into my server. Now I can use this as per my business. So because AWS is giving one processor and 1 GB memory and the 8 GB hard disk capacity, right? I need to pay to the AWS. Hey AWS, you take this much and you give this capacity, right? How AWS take that billing? So AWS will be calculating the billing on hourly basis. Let's say at this minute my server is in running state and I started consuming processor and memory and hard drive, right? How many number of hours that you use this capacity, they calculate it and we need to pay them on hourly basis. Let's say my server is in running for 2 hours. I just need to pay them just for 2 hours. So the flexibility with the cloud, right? Whenever you want the server, you go and order a server by going to the launch instance and fill up the form and tell that the requirements. Whenever you don't want the server, select the server, instance type, terminate a server. Let me do it one more time. Select the server, terminate instance. My UI is very slow, guys. So while it is coming back, whenever you terminate, AWS is going to delete the processor, memory, hard drive, whatever is allotted, everything will be deleted from their side and we don't need to pay anything as well. That's how like whenever you want, go and take it. Whenever you don't want, you can go and terminate it as well and pay for the number of hours that you have used. It is still taking time, but anyway, so termination protection, right? I'll talk about this. So sometimes you by mistake can go and click on terminate, right? The server will be terminated. To avoid that, the people will be, I'm going to say AWS is putting some termination protection. Let me see if the termination protection is already there. I'll go to actions, instance settings, change termination protection. Let me refresh, guys. Let me do it one more time. Select the server. Let me go to actions, instance settings. Change the termination protection. Yeah, I could see that the termination protection is not enabled, right? So we are good to terminate this. There is no enable option. So instance state, terminate, terminate. Now you see the instance is successfully terminated. Now it is actually shutting down. Now AWS will take care of removing all this processor, memory, hard drive, everything in a backend, and your server is gone. Whenever you need the server, yes, you can go and click on launch instance and then start fill up the form, but that will be a new server altogether, right? You will not get the same. Again, AWS will allocate a processor, memory, and hard drive. That's a new server altogether. It's not the same server. Whatever you did it in the previous server will not get the same again, guys. When it comes to real time, we'll not be terminating the servers because we are using it for business. But yeah, during the practice time, yes, take the server, do the lab practice, and terminate it. You don't need to keep it running for long, right? Because AWS is calculating on hourly basis billing. Make sense? Now quickly, let me go and create a EC2 instance case. So just go to the EC2 service instances tab. This is already terminated. We don't need to worry about that entry now. The terminated entry will be disappear after 10 minutes automatically. Right? Now, let me click on launch instances. We'll see how easy and quick it is to create a server. Okay, I just got this form. I just need to fill up the form, right? Let's say this is my test server, and let me choose Amazon 2023 AMI. I'll choose x86 processor architecture. This is the corresponding AMI ID. I'll go with the t2.micro instance type, giving 1 processor and 1 GB. Now I don't need to create a key pair again because the key pair was already created some time back. The same key pair can be selected from the drop down, guys. The drop down is already showing the key pairs that were created before. I can just go and select the key pair from the list so that the key that was downloaded some time back, I can still use the same key for this server also because I have selected the same key pair from the drop down. Good. So I'm not doing anything with the networking settings, nothing that I'm changing from configure storage, no changes to advanced details, number of instances 1, come and click on launch instances. First time we spent a lot of time, right, in explaining a lot of details, but you see now how quick it is to create a server. Just go and select the processor, memory, hard drive, AMI, your server is created. Right? So initially the server is in pending state. AWS may take some seconds to make this it into a running state. They are preparing the server for you. So whatever the public IP that you found for this server, take that public IP and start connecting to the server. Use the PuTTY software that you have downloaded some time back. Give the IP address there, SSH, authentication, credentials, browse, and attach the keys, appearance, change, font, increase, open, accept. Let me give the username. That's where you logged into the server. Now let me talk about two things. First thing, how did I got this username? Who told this? This is the username that I need to use here for login purpose, correct? If I get into the AWS documentation, AWS is clearly telling that, hey, if you are creating the EC2 instances, these are the default usernames. These are pretty standard, guys. It's saying that if you are using Amazon Linux 2023 AMI or any of the Amazon Linux AMIs, your username will be EC2-user. Now you got me. Why did I use EC2-user as the username for login? This is very standard. The AWS is telling that, hey, if you are using these AMIs, this is your username. And you see, if you are using CentOS AMI, then these are your usernames. Like that, for every specific Linux AMI that you have used, the corresponding usernames are predefined. These are standard. So we need to use this usernames for login purpose, guys, based on the AMI that we have created or selected. Now the second point. The server is running state, right? Do I need to pay for it? Let me refresh. Do I need to pay for it? What AWS says, whenever you have created a new AWS account for 12 months time, your account is treated as a free tier account. So for the 12 months period, the AWS is not going to charge for the resources that you are using. Condition apply. That means we need to understand what is a AWS free tier account. AWS is telling that, hey, from the date of account is created, 12 months is your free tier account, but you can't use anything that you like it for free. There are certain limitations, guys. If I get into their AWS free tier documentation to see what are these limitations, here you can see the limitations on compute, database, storage, lot of other things, right? What is that we are working as of today? Compute, correct? So let me go to the compute section. And here we can see the limitations. Amazon EC2 is free for 750 hours per month. You got me? If your instance is running state for 750 hours in 1 month, then that is free for you. If it is running more than 750 hours, then that is not free. Let's say your capacity is running 800 hours in a month. You need to pay for 50 hours, guys. Following me? Now, the number of hours that the AWS is calculating is not for a single server. It is the sum of all the servers. Let's say if I'm running 2 servers continuously for 2 hours, the total number of hours is 4 hours. Got me? Right? So that's how the AWS is calculating. So the total you will get 750 hours. Whether you use that 750 hours per one server or 2 servers is up to you. Total 750 hours is free. Again, the 750 hours you will be getting it for which instance type, correct? You see here T2.micro or T3.micro instance type. That is what is that you will be getting for free. If you are using different instance type, no, that is not free. Or maybe T4G.small. We just need to go through these conditions. So when you are launching the instance, right, and when you are filling the form, you should be careful about that. You see, I'm going to launch instance one more time. Okay, yeah, this is the AMI selection. If you go to the instance types, you see T2.micro is free, but let's say if I go with the T2.medium, no, that is not free. You need to pay for it. Got me? So just don't go and create whatever you needed just like that, guys. So just follow the free tier limitation rules and select it accordingly, so that you don't need to pay, because that is part of the free tier eligibility, and that's how it works. Does it make sense? Let me cancel for now. Hence the reason, right? So follow the free tier limitations. Once you're done with your lab practice, select the server and terminate it. Don't worry about keeping it in running long time, guys. Right? Once you are done, just terminate it, because I don't want it to be running for more than 750 hours and causing for billing. So I'll just go and terminate a server. Now, the AWS is going to calculate only for the running hours, running compute hours. That means whenever it is in running state, AWS is going to pay or billing. If you go to instance state here, there are different types, right? Terminate, we already know that is like deleting a server completely. Okay. What does it mean by the stop? You see here, I'm stopping the server now. It's very slow, guys. I'm stopping the server. What is it mean by stop? Stop is equal to shutdown. When my server is stopped, do you think the processor and memory is being used? Always understand your laptop only. Let's say you have a laptop, you shut down your laptop. Do you think your processor and memory is in use? No, right? So here also the same thing. Whenever you stop the server, the processor and memory is not being used. So AWS is not calculating any billing for that duration for your compute resources. Is it clear? What are the compute resources, guys? Option A, processor memory hard drive. Option B, processor memory. Which is correct answer? The compute resource is only the processor and the memory. As we discussed in the previous section, the terminology compute resource is referring to processor and memory only. The hard drive capacity, the hard disk is not part of the compute. Being said that, why I'm not able to make this into stop? Let me stop it. Okay, while I'm doing that, so tell me guys, if I stop the server, do I need to pay to AWS or not? Yeah, now you see that it's going for stop, right? So overall, if you look at the server, right, This instance is using three important resources. One is processor, one is memory, one is hard drive, correct? This instance is using total three resources. AMI is not a resource, that's just a OS. Processor, memory, hard drive. These are the three important resources that this machine is using. When you stop the server, the compute is not being used, so processor and memory I need not to pay. But what about the hard drive capacity? Do I need to pay for a hard drive or not when the server is in stop state? You need to pay, correct? So if the instance is stop state, you are not paying for processor and memory, I agree, but you have to continue paying for the hard drive because once the AWS has given you some 8 GB of hard disk capacity, right? Whether you use it, whether you don't use it, you already got 8 GB capacity. You have to pay for it. Think of like when you shut down your laptop, of course, processor and memory not in use, but what about the hard disk that is there in your laptop that is still storing your data, right? Same thing. So here also, only the compute resources or pay as you go services here. As and when I'm going through this discussion, I'm keep on introducing few terminologies. The new terminology is pay as you go. Pay as you go is mean that if you are using, pay for it. If you are not using, don't pay for it. That is what is the pay as you go service approach model. In AWS, the compute resources are pay as you go services. Whenever the instance is in running state, you pay for them. Whenever the instance is not running, you don't pay for them. But the storage is not the pay as you go service approach. Whether you are really using the storage or not using the storage, once you got some capacity, you have to continue paying for it. Is it make sense? The statement that I have delivered here. Hence the reason, right? Now I need to worry about the storage as well. Okay, for this server, do I need to pay or not? In the free tier documentation, right? It is talking about 750 hours of running time for the EC2 server. This is talking about only the compute, correct? What about the storage then? Do I need to pay for the storage? Let me look into the storage. This is the one relevant one. You see, free tier 12 months free 30 GB. 30 GB of the hard drive capacity is free for you. If you use more than 30 GB, you need to pay for it. Usually by default, when you create a EC2 server, you are getting only 8 GB of hard drive, right? That's what we have seen some time back. So 8 GB is still under this limit. You don't need to pay. But if you modify that 8 GB to 30 GB or more, you need to pay for this. That's the reason go with minimal storage capacity there, guys. Just don't go and give 50 GB, 100 GB. We don't need that size as well. We are not storing any data as of today, right? That's the another thing that we need to make a note. Yes, when the instances are stopped, only the compute is not calculated, but the associated storage is still billable if that is not following the free tier limitations. Is it clear? Being said that, at least for the practice purpose, when you are doing the practicing, right, don't worry about stopping them. Once you're done with your lab, just go and terminate a server. Again, tomorrow, whenever you want to do the lab, just take one more server, do the lab and terminate a server. Because once you terminate it, right, it will remove your hard disk, everything. So we don't need to worry about keeping them running. So today we have talked about AWS introduction, how to get started with the EC2 service, how to create a simple EC2 service, and a few other information, guys. As a summary, right? As a summary, AWS is offering multiple services matching for different business sectors. So we don't need to learn all of them. We are learning only the services which are relevant to our DevOps engineer job role. The EC2 is the first service that we are getting started with. EC2 is the Elastic Compute Cloud, which is offering the servers over the AWS Cloud Platform. Whenever you order a server using EC2 Launch Instance tab by specifying the requirements of the AMI instance type and the volume capacity, I mean to say the storage capacity, with that information, the AWS is going to create one server in the respective uh, uh, region of availability zones based on the selection, and the server will be granted. If it is under the free tier limitation, you don't need to pay. If you are violating the free tier rules, then you need to pay for this. AWS is calculating a hourly billing, and the invoice will be generated at a month end, and we need to pay for every first date of the month if at all we are violating the free tier rules, or else no. If you ask me, we can complete the whole complete AWS lab without paying anything to the AWS case. Now it's up to you how you are following the free tier limitation rule, but usually we don't need to get into the paid kind. Everything whatever we wanted to learn can be possible to learn within the free tier limits only, except there are one or two services that will be coming up later, but 95% all the concepts can be covered as part of the free tier only. But don't forget to terminate a server. If you keep them running, it will cross the 750 hours and somehow you end up paying. So the basic rule is anything that you create in AWS, try to clean up everything. At least initially, don't worry about whether that is causing the billing, whether that is not causing the billing. Don't worry, just try to make them clean as much as possible. That's the best practice to avoid any unnecessary billing that happens. Right? So as part of that, we talked about how to logging into the server, the default usernames, and the PuTTY thing as well. How to use the PuTTY to connect it to the server, just to get started with. Now, if you guys are using Mac laptops, then how to logging into this EC2 server, correct? So if you are using Mac laptops to logging in, then you need to logging into the server, right? I mean to say, all the Mac people will already aware of the command line, right? We are done for the today's session, guys. I'm just trying to cover up the people whoever is using the Mac laptops. I'm sure the people who are using the Mac laptops already familiar about the terminal in Mac laptop, correct? You can go and open the terminal in Mac, correct? So once you know about how to open the terminal in the Mac, then you just need to use the command to logging into the server. I'll give the command here. The same command I will be putting in the course tracker as well. SSH-I, the key that you have downloaded, whichever the key that you downloaded, you need to specify the key name. Then the IP address of your EC2-user is your username @ and specify the IP that you copied from the AWS. This is the command that you need to run in your Mac terminal to log into the server. Before that, you need to run this command. What is this command, how this command works, we'll definitely talk about in upcoming lectures, guys. For now, because we are already done with the today scheduled time, right? For now, these are the two commands that you need to run as a Mac user to logging into the server, but we'll talk about in detail what these commands are doing in next session. Yeah, again, what this command will do, we'll talk about in the next lecture. But for now, if you are using the Mac laptop, then you need to follow these two commands to logging into the server. Whoever is using the Windows machines, you don't need to worry about these two commands at this time. Windows users can just download the PuTTY software, can use the PuTTY software and log in. Right? That's the reason I said if you are using the Windows, you have to download the PEM format. If you are using the Mac or Linux, you need to download the PEM format. Sorry, PPK and PEM format at the time of you're downloading the key pair from AWS, right? So I think that's the story for today, guys. If any questions, do let me know, or else we are good for today, right? And just to cover up the things, right? So whenever you are trying to logging into the instance from PuTTY, just to repeat one more time, all what you need to do is give the IP address in this section, IP address section. See, initially, whatever I'm not touching, you also don't touch it. For example, I'm not touching anything, connection type, port numbers, all these things, right? You also don't touch it. So when I go into the upcoming advanced sessions, then I'll talk about port number, all other things, right? Initially at one day, we can't grab all these things into single session, right? So don't worry. Whatever I left it as default, let it be a default, don't touch. You guys need to do IP address there, and under the SSH, under the auth section, just upload the key. You should be good enough to log in into the server. If you do any more other changes, it will break the things. Yeah. And the other thing, like once you come back to this EC2, right? Let's say EC2 is the service that AWS is offering to give you the server. It's like that's the interface for you to get a server, right? To get a EC2 server, it need a processor, memory, volumes, lot of other information, right? All of them are now called as a resources, like AWS language perspective. Like, here you can see that EC2 is the service name. Inside the EC2 service, instance is the resource, AMI is the resource, instance type is the resource, the volume like hard drive is the resource, key pair is the resource. Got me, guys? Like all the different elements that are needed to create a EC2 server, all of them are treated as a resources inside the EC2 service. That's the terminology perspective.